Move your crap. My sister's voice cut through the afternoon like a blade, sharp and final. She was already dumping my files onto the floor, scattering papers across the carpet. We need this space for inventory. You can work from Starbucks. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just picked up what I could, walked out, and drove away. The next morning at 7:30 a.m., the eviction notice arrived via email and certified mail. By 8 a.m., my phone showed 63 unread messages. Most were from Jessica. Some from my mother. A few from my father. All of them asking the same question. How could I do this? I had owned that $8.7 million building for 4 years. But to understand how we got here, you need to go back further. Because the morning my sister kicked me out of my own office wasn't random. It was the unavoidable conclusion of 3 decades spent as the sibling who didn't matter. The one expected to be grateful. The one told to step aside. My name is Sarah Kim. I'm 34 years old. For most of my life, I've stood in the shadow of my older sister's spotlight. Jessica is 37. 3 years older, and in my parents' eyes, 3 years more accomplished in every way. Growing up in San Jose, California, Jessica was the star. Straight A's without trying. Student body president. Acceptance letter from Stanford. She was the daughter our immigrant parents had dreamed of, proof that their sacrifice meant something. I was different. Quieter. More comfortable with computers than with people. I went to UC Berkeley for computer science. A good school, my parents admitted, but not Stanford. Jessica earned her MBA and moved into consulting at McKinsey, then into product management at Google. She married a software engineer named David, and together they bought a house in Palo Alto worth over $2 million. Meanwhile, I started as a software engineer at a small startup, earning $95,000 a year. I lived in a studio apartment in Oakland and rode my bike to work. Every family dinner became a performance where Jessica was the lead actress. Jessica got promoted to senior product manager, my mother would announce. She's leading a team of 12 now. That's wonderful, I'd reply. What about you, Sarah? My father would ask. Still doing that coding thing? I'm a senior engineer now. Building infrastructure for. That's nice. Jessica, tell us about the new house renovation. I learned to stay quiet. To smile. To let my sister shine. What my family never knew was that while Jessica climbed the corporate ladder, I was quietly constructing something else entirely. In 2017, I was 27 years old. The startup I worked for, Dateflow, had begun growing faster than anyone expected. We built a data pipeline product that companies loved. Revenue was climbing. We had real momentum. Our CEO gathered the early employees and offered us a chance to buy additional stock options at a discounted price. You can purchase an extra 0.5% of the company, he told me. $3 per share. Total cost, $75,000. I had exactly $82,000 in savings. Every penny I'd saved since college. I'll take it, I said. Jessica thought I was insane. You're putting everything into a startup? That's terrible financial planning. You should be buying a condo. I believe in what we're building, Sarah. This is exactly why you need to think bigger. Startups fail. Real estate is tangible. I didn't argue. I just signed the paperwork and wired the money. 18 months later, Salesforce acquired Dateflow for $850 million. My total equity, including the additional shares I'd purchased, came to $6.8 million after taxes. I was 29 years old. I told no one. Not my parents. Not Jessica. Not even my coworkers, who assumed I was moving to another startup. Instead of taking another job, I hired a wealth advisor named Margaret Chin at Bay Area Capital Management. What do you want to build? She asked. Long-term wealth. I want assets that appreciate and generate income. Commercial real estate. That's capital intensive. I have capital. We started looking. In 2019, we found it. A 4-story office building in Mountain View, constructed in 2005. 45,000 square feet divided into 8 separate units, currently 85% occupied. The owner was a developer who had overextended himself and needed to sell quickly. Asking price, $9.2 million. It's underpriced for the location, Margaret said. The building generates annual rental income of $1.8 million. Operating expenses run about $650,000, leaving net operating income of $1.15 million. That's a 12.5% cap rate. I'll offer $8.7 million, I said. All cash. Close in 30 days. All cash? Sarah, that would put almost all your liquid capital into one asset. I believe in this market. Tech is growing. Office space in Mountain View will always hold value. We closed on November 15, 2019. I paid $8.7 million for a commercial building in the heart of Silicon Valley. My family still thought I worked as a software engineer, still imagined me in my Oakland studio apartment. I created an LLC called Kim Property Holdings to own the building and hired a property management company, Premiere Commercial Management, to handle daily operations. I reviewed financials each month but stayed hands-off otherwise. By 2020, I had increased occupancy to 95%. Annual revenue reached $1.9 million, with net operating income of $1.25 million. By 2022, after raising rents in line with the market, annual revenue hit $2.3 million and net operating income climbed to $1.65 million. The building had appreciated to $11.2 million. My net worth stood at $9.8 million. My family still saw me as just the quiet coder. In 2021, Jessica quit Google. I'm starting a company, she announced at Sunday dinner. That's exciting, my mother said. What kind of company? Direct-to-consumer wellness products. Supplements, skincare. We're calling it Vitality Collective. That sounds wonderful, my father added. Very entrepreneurial. Jessica looked at me. You've worked at startups. Any advice? Focus on unit economics, I said. Make sure your customer acquisition cost is sustainable. Obviously, this isn't my first time running something, Sarah. I managed product at Google. Product management is different from running a whole company. I know. That's why I have David as my co-founder. He'll handle the technology side. Over the next year, I watched Jessica build Vitality Collective from a distance. They raised a seed round of $2 million from angel investors and a small venture capital firm. They hired 12 employees. They launched their first products. The company looked impressive from the outside, beautiful branding, active social media, coverage, and TechCrunch. But I saw the numbers. Their customer acquisition cost was $180. Their average order value was $95. They lost money on every single customer. How's the company doing? I asked one night at dinner. Amazing. We tripled our revenue last quarter. What's the revenue? $85,000 last quarter, up from $28,000. That meant they had generated $85,000 in revenue while probably spending $500,000 or more on payroll, inventory, and marketing. What's your burn rate? I asked. We're well capitalized. Don't worry about it. But I did worry because I understood startups. Vitality Collective looked like it was burning through cash without any clear path to profitability. In early 2023, Jessica called me with a request. Sarah, I need a favor. What's up? We need office space. We have been working remotely, but we need to bring the team together, build culture. I heard you work in a building in Mountain View. Do you know if there's any space available? My building. She was asking about my building. I can check, I said. What are you looking for? Maybe 3,000 square feet. Enough for 12 people with room to grow. That's expensive. Mountain View office space runs about $4.50 per square foot per month. You would be looking at roughly $13,500 monthly. Ouch! That's steep. That's market rate. See what you can find. Maybe the landlord would be flexible for a startup. I called my property manager, David Chin. David, my sister is asking about space. She wants 3,000 square feet for her startup. Unit 3B is available, he said. 3,200 square feet. We're asking $450 per foot, which comes to $14,400 monthly. What is our flexibility on price? For a quality tenant with good credit, not much. But family is family. What do you want to do? I thought about it for 3 days. In the end, I decided to stay anonymous, rent her the space at market rate through the LLC, and keep my ownership private. David, let's rent her Unit 3B. Standard lease terms, market rate. She does not know I own the building, and I want to keep it that way. Understood. Jessica signed the lease in March 2023. Vitality Collective moved into Unit 3B at $14,400 per month on a 3-year lease. At family dinners, she talked excitedly about their new office. The landlord is some investment company, she said, very corporate, but the space is perfect for us. I smiled and said nothing. You should come visit, Jessica told me once. See what a real startup looks like. Maybe, I said. I never visited as her sister, but I walked through the building twice a month as the owner. I passed Unit 3B, looked through the glass walls, saw her team working, saw the Vitality Collective logo on the wall. She had no idea she was paying me rent. By mid-2023, Vitality Collective was in trouble. They had burned through their seed round and needed more capital, but venture capitalists were not interested. The market is tough right now, Jessica said at dinner. Investors are being conservative. What is your runway? I asked. About 6 months of cash left. We are looking at a bridge round. Just need to get us to profitability. What is your path to profitability? Increasing prices, launching new products, cutting costs. What costs? Salaries. We are doing layoffs, reducing the team from 12 to 7. What about the office? We need it. Culture is important. I did the math in my head. $14,400 monthly rent times 12 months came to $172,800 per year for a company generating maybe $400,000 in annual revenue while spending $1.5 million. The office was bleeding them dry, but Jessica saw it as a symbol of legitimacy. By November 2023, things worsened. The bridge round fell through. They had 3 months of runway left. Jessica called me, sounding desperate. Sarah, I need help. What kind of help? Financial advice. You are good with money. I need to cut costs, but I do not know where. Show me your financials. She sent a spreadsheet. Revenue, expenses, cash balance. It was worse than I expected. They were burning $95,000 per month while bringing in only $32,000. They had $275,000 in the bank. You have 3 months, I said. I know. That is why I am calling. Your biggest fixed cost is payroll, $58,000 per month for 7 people. I cannot cut more people. We are already skeletal. Your second biggest cost is office space, $14,400 per month. We need the office. Do you? Could you go remote and save that money? No. Culture would die. The team needs to be together. Jessica, you're going to run out of money. Culture does not matter if the company dies. You do not understand. This is not just about spreadsheets. It is about building something that matters. She did not take my advice. In December 2023, Vitality Collective missed their rent payment for the first time. David called me. Unit 3B did not pay rent. They are 7 days late. I sent a reminder notice. No response. Send another notice, I said. If they do not pay in 10 days, start the formal process. Are you sure? She is your sister. Business is business. Jessica paid 14 days late with a note apologizing for the delay. January rent was also late, 17 days. February rent arrived 23 days late. I did not reach out to her. This was between her company and my LLC. I stayed out of it. But at family dinners, the stress was visible on her face. She looked exhausted, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. How is the company? My mother asked. Fine. Just busy. You look tired. Startups are hard, Mom. But we are making progress. She was not making progress. She was drowning. In March 2024, they did not pay rent at all. David called again. No payment. No communication. What do you want to do? Send a notice of default. Give them 10 days to cure, or we start eviction proceedings. You want to evict your sister? I want to enforce the lease. This is a business relationship. If she cannot pay rent, she cannot occupy the space. I will send the notice. Jessica called me that evening, panicked. Sarah, did you know the landlord is threatening to evict us? What happened? We are behind on rent, just a few weeks. But they are being really aggressive about it. How far behind? Maybe 6 weeks. $20,000. Actually, 43,200. 3 months. Jessica, that is 3 months. I know, but we have investors coming to visit. We need the office to show them we are real. If we get evicted, we lose the funding round. Can you catch up on the rent? If we get the funding, yes. But we need 30 days, maybe 60. Have you talked to the landlord? I tried. It is some faceless LLC. The property manager just sends form letters. No flexibility. Maybe if you explained your situation. I tried. They do not care. Corporate investors just want their rent check. I said nothing. Can you lend me $20,000? Jessica asked. Just to catch up on rent. I will pay you back when we close the round. Jessica, I cannot. Please. I am desperate. This company is everything to me. I cannot let it die because of some greedy landlord. I took a breath. My finances are more complicated than you think. What does that mean? It means I cannot just hand you $20,000. Some sister you are. She hung up. In April 2024, we started formal eviction proceedings. Legal notice, court filings, the entire process. Jessica was furious. At family dinner, she ranted about the corporate vulture landlord who refused to work with a struggling startup. They are killing my company, she said, over $43,000. That is nothing to them, but everything to us. Maybe you should have paid your rent, my father said carefully. I was trying to keep the company alive. Rent or payroll? I chose payroll. But you signed a lease, my mother added. I know I signed a lease, but there should be some humanity in business. Sarah, you're quiet, Jessica said. What do you think? I think landlords have expenses too, I said. Property taxes, insurance, maintenance. They cannot just forgive rent because a tenant is struggling. That is cold. That is reality. You sound like a capitalist robot. I sound like someone who understands business. Whatever. You have never built anything. You just write code for other people's companies. You do not understand what it is like to have everything on the line. I could have told her then. About the building. About owning the space she was about to be evicted from. About building a multi-million-dollar portfolio while she assumed I was just a code monkey. But I did not. I just kept eating. On April 15, 2024, Jessica secured an emergency bridge loan of $250,000 from an investor. Enough to pay back rent and buy 3 more months of time. She called me excited. We are saved. The investor came through. We can pay the rent and keep the office. That is great. Not yet. But the tenant called yesterday. She said she is bringing a cashier's check for the full back rent today. Good. At 10:47, while David and I were reviewing maintenance expenses, my phone buzzed. The security desk. Ms. Kim, there is a situation in Unit 3B. What is going on? The tenant is moving furniture into the conference room and using it for storage. The space is getting crowded. Other tenants have complained about noise. I will come up. I told David I would be back in 15 minutes and took the elevator to the 3rd floor. When I walked toward Unit 3B, I could see chaos through the glass walls. Boxes everywhere. Inventory stacked in the conference room. The office designed for 12 people now crammed with products and packing materials. I opened the door and walked in. Jessica was directing 2 employees who were moving boxes. She did not see me at first. Then she turned. Her expression shifted from confusion to recognition to shock. Sarah? What are you doing here? I have a meeting in the building. Oh. Well, we're kind of busy. We are reorganizing. Got a lot of inventory to store. I looked around. You are using this as a warehouse? Temporarily. We are growing. We need the space. A young employee approached. Jessica, where do you want these boxes? Put them in that empty office. That is not empty, the employee said. Someone has a desk and computer in there. They can work from home today. We need the space. I walked toward the office she had pointed to and saw a desk covered with files and a laptop. A name placard read David, head of engineering. Whose office is this? I asked. Jessica came over. That is David's space. He is my co-founder. But he is not here today. We can use it. He is not here today, or you kicked him out. Sarah, stay out of this. This is my company, my space. I make the decisions. Your space that you have not paid rent for in 3 months. I am paying today. I have the check right here. Once I pay, the landlord cannot say anything about how we use the space. Actually, the lease specifies the space is for office use, not warehouse storage. How would you know what the lease says? I paused. This was the moment. Because I own the building. The room went silent. Jessica stared at me, unblinking. What? Kim Property Holdings. That is my LLC. I bought this building in 2019. You have been renting from me for 14 months. Her face cycled through disbelief, confusion, and then fury. You own this building? Yes. And you have been letting me struggle? Letting me stress about paying rent? Threatening me with eviction? You signed a lease. At market rate. This is a business transaction. I am your sister. And this is my investment property, which you failed to pay rent on for 3 months. Because I was trying to save my company. That is not my problem. You signed a contract. The young employee shifted uncomfortably. Should we step outside? No, Jessica snapped. Stay. I want witnesses. She turned back to me. So what? You have been spying on me? Watching me struggle while you collect rent? I have been running a business. You are a tenant. You pay rent or you get evicted. That is how it works. This is unbelievable. Mom and Dad gave you $50,000 for college. Where do you think you got the money to buy an $8.7 million building? I earned it from a startup acquisition. I invested it wisely. I built something. You built something by being secretive and manipulative. I built something by working hard and making smart decisions, which you clearly do not respect. Jessica grabbed a box of files from David's desk and dumped them on the floor. Get your crap out of my office. It is not your office. It is my building. We are paying rent. As of today, we are current. That means you cannot evict us and you cannot tell us how to use the space. Actually, I can. The lease prohibits using the office as a storage facility. What you are doing right now is a lease violation. Are you serious? Completely. Either you move this inventory out, or I start eviction proceedings based on lease violations instead of non-payment. Jessica stepped closer, her face red. You know what your problem is? You are so busy being clever and secretive that you forgot how to be human, how to be family. And you are so busy playing entrepreneur that you forgot business has rules. Rent is due on the 1st. Leases have terms. None of that changes because we share DNA. Move your crap. Jessica suddenly yelled at David's desk. She grabbed his laptop and his files and threw them into a box. Work from Starbucks. We need this space for inventory. I watched her destroy someone's workspace. Watched her unravel. I am leaving, I said calmly. You have until the end of business today to remove all non-office inventory from this space. If it is still here tomorrow, you are in violation of your lease. I will send written notice. Go ahead. Send your notices. I have an investor meeting next week. They are coming here. They need to see we are real. I am not moving anything. Then you will be evicted. I walked out, took the elevator back to the 1st floor, and found David Chin waiting. How did it go? He asked. Send her a lease violation notice. Inventory storage is prohibited. She has 24 hours to comply, or we proceed with eviction based on material breach of the lease terms. Even though she is paying the back rent? She missed the 3-month deadline. We already started eviction proceedings. The payment does not cure the violation. And now she is in violation of the use restrictions. Document everything. Understood. I left the building, got in my car, and drove back to my actual home, a 3-bedroom condo in Sunnyvale worth $1.9 million that my family also did not know I owned. The next morning, April 17, 2024, at 7:30, David sent the formal eviction notice. By 8 o'clock, my phone had 63 missed calls and messages. Jessica, you cannot do this. Jessica, I am bringing the rent check today. Jessica, please. I am begging you. Mom, Sarah, what is going on? Jessica called crying. Dad, call your sister. She is in crisis. Jessica, my investor is coming Monday. I need the office. Jessica, how can you do this to family? I did not respond to any of them. At 10 o'clock, Jessica showed up at the building with a cashier's check. David called me. She is here with $43,200. She wants to pay and stay. Too late. The eviction is proceeding. She has 30 days to vacate per the court order. She is crying in the lobby. That is unfortunate. But business is business. Sarah, do not. I know it looks harsh. But she has had months to fix this. She made choices. Now she faces the consequences. By noon, my mother was calling every 15 minutes. I finally answered. Sarah, you need to stop this. Stop what? The eviction. Jessica showed up with rent money. You need to accept it. The eviction is based on multiple factors now. Non-payment and lease violations. She turned the office into a storage facility. So, she is paying rent. 3 months late, after ignoring multiple notices. And she is using the space in violation of her lease. Since when are you a heartless landlord? Since I invested $8.7 million in a commercial property that requires professional management. You own the building? I have owned it since 2019. I am a property owner with multiple assets. I am financially successful. But none of you noticed because you were too busy celebrating Jessica's startup. We did not know. Because you did not ask. Just like Jessica never asked who owned the building she was renting. She assumed it was some faceless corporation. Easier to be angry at corporate vultures than to admit she made poor business decisions. She is your sister. And this is my building. She signed a lease. She violated it repeatedly. Now she faces the consequences. My mother started crying. You are destroying her dream. Her dream was already dying. I am just enforcing the contract she signed. I hung up. My father demanded an emergency family dinner. We met at their house in San Jose on April 20th, 4 days after the confrontation. Jessica arrived with David. They looked exhausted. Thank you all for coming, my father began. We need to find a path forward. There is nothing to find, I said. Jessica has a 30-day eviction notice. She needs to vacate. Sarah, please, my mother said. Can you not show some flexibility? I have shown flexibility. For 3 months of non-payment. Now she is violating the lease terms. There is no more flexibility. Jessica leaned forward. I have an investor coming Monday. If I do not have an office, the deal dies. The company dies. Everything I have worked for. That is not my responsibility. You could fix this with one phone call. I could. But why should I? Because I am your sister. You have treated me like I do not matter for 30 years. Every family dinner was about your achievements, your promotions, your house, your startup. I was just the quiet sister who coded for other people. You said that phrase yourself 6 days ago. Sarah just writes code for other people's companies. Jessica looked down. I have built something significant, I continued. A real estate portfolio. Financial security. Success by any measure. But none of you knew because none of you asked. You were too busy assuming I was less than you. That is not fair, my mother said. Is not? When is the last time you asked about my work? My life? My accomplishments? It has always been about Jessica. Always. We are proud of both our daughters, my father said. No. You are proud of Jessica. I am just there. The backup daughter. The one who should be grateful to be included. Sarah, Jessica started. I bought that building when I was 29 years old. $8.7 million cash. It generates over $1.6 million in annual net income. My net worth is nearly $10 million. And none of you had any idea because you never looked past your assumptions about who I was. The room fell silent. So no, I said. I am not going to save your startup by forgiving rent or overlooking lease violations. You signed a contract. Live with it. David spoke for the first time. What if we pay the back rent plus a penalty and move the inventory out immediately? The eviction is already in process. Legal fees have been incurred. Court dates are scheduled. How much would it cost to stop it? More than you have. And more than I am willing to negotiate. Name a price. I looked at Jessica. There is no price. This is not about money. This is about consequences. For years of being dismissed, of being kicked out of my own building because you needed storage space, of being told to work from Starbucks like I was the one who did not matter. I did not know it was your building. Exactly. You did not know. Did not ask. Did not consider that maybe, just maybe, I had built something significant. You assumed the landlord was some evil corporation you could bully. Jessica was crying now. So you're going to destroy my company to make a point? I am not destroying your company. Your company destroyed itself with unsustainable unit economics and poor cash management. I am just enforcing a lease agreement. My mother stood up. Sarah, if you do this, you are choosing money over family. No. I am choosing boundaries over enabling. Jessica made bad choices. She gets to live with them. We did not raise you to be this cold. You did not raise me at all, Mom. You raised Jessica. I just sort of existed alongside her success. I stood. The eviction stands. Jessica has 26 days left to vacate. I suggest she uses them to find alternative space or wind down the company. Either way, this conversation is over. I left. Jessica vacated Unit 3B on May 15, 2024, one day before the final eviction deadline. Vitality Collective shut down 3 weeks later. The investor deal fell through. Without an office to show, they could not project legitimacy. The company dissolved. Employees were laid off. Assets were liquidated. Jessica blamed me publicly. On LinkedIn, she wrote, "Sometimes the biggest obstacles to success are the people closest to you. Family is not always support. Sometimes it is sabotage." I did not respond. My parents stopped inviting me to family dinners. I was too focused on business, too cold, not the daughter they thought they had raised. Fine by me. 3 months later, in August 2024, David reached out. Sarah, can we talk? Just you and me. No Jessica. About what? About what happened. And what happens next. We met at a coffee shop in Palo Alto. Jessica is angry, he said. Probably will be for a long time. I know. But I wanted to tell you something. You were right. The company was dying. Terrible unit economics. Unsustainable burn rate. We were never going to make it. The office was bleeding us dry. You evicting us probably saved us from 6 more months of suffering and debt. Tell that to Jessica. I have. She is not ready to hear it yet. But she will be eventually. Maybe. I also wanted to say I am impressed with what you have built. I did some research after everything happened. Your building is just one asset. You own other properties too. Yes. That is incredible. You built real wealth while everyone was focused on startups and exits. Thank you. Jessica feels betrayed. But honestly, I think she is just shocked that you were more successful than her and she never knew. That is her issue to work through. It is. He paused. I am starting something new. Smaller, more focused, better unit economics. Would you consider investing? Are you serious? Completely. You understand business. You have capital. And you are not afraid to make hard decisions. That is exactly the kind of investor I want. I thought about it. Send me a deck. Let me review it. I will. Thank you. It is now December 2024, 8 months since I evicted Jessica. My building is 100% occupied. Unit 3B was released to a Series B startup in June at $16,500 per month, a 20% increase over what Jessica had been paying. Annual revenue from the building is $2.5 million. Net operating income is $1.8 million. The property is now valued at $12.4 million. I invested $200,000 in David's new company as a convertible note on reasonable terms. I am a passive investor. No drama. Just business. I bought another building, a small office complex in Fremont, for $6.2 million. My portfolio is expanding. My parents and I speak occasionally. Strained, but civil. They are slowly accepting that I am not the daughter they thought I was. Jessica and I have not spoken. She blocked me on all platforms and moved to Austin with David to start fresh. Last week, my mother called. Sarah, I need to apologize. For what? For not seeing you all those years. We were so focused on Jessica's path that we ignored yours. I know. You built something remarkable. And we missed it because we were not paying attention. You were not looking. No, we were not. And I am sorry. Thank you. Do you think you and Jessica will ever reconcile? Maybe. When she is ready to see me as an equal instead of as the little sister who should have stayed in her place. That is fair. She was wrong about a lot of things. Yes, she was. But Sarah, you were harsh. I was fair. There is a difference. My mother sighed. I suppose there is. We talked for another 20 minutes about my properties, my investments, my success. For the first time in my life, she asked questions and actually listened to the answers. Progress. I do not regret evicting Jessica. I do not regret enforcing my lease. I do not regret choosing my boundaries over her feelings. Because here is what I learned. Family does not give anyone the right to exploit. Love does not mean enabling. And being kind does not mean being weak. Jessica built her startup on assumptions. That investors would always come through. That rent could wait. That the faceless landlord would be flexible. She was wrong about all of it. And when she kicked me out of my own building, threw my files on the floor, and told me to work from Starbucks, she revealed exactly how much respect she had for me. None. So I showed her exactly how much power I had. All of it. The next morning, the calls started. The eviction notice was delivered. The consequences were real. And Jessica learned what I had known all along. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. I built my empire while she assumed I was just a coder. I owned the building while she thought she was renting from strangers. I held all the cards while she thought she was winning the game. The only thing that changed was her knowledge of it. And that changed everything.